Hello, I'm Kimberly with My Victorian Heart. Thank you for joining me in creating this autumn bird arch panel with IOD Moulds, Decoupage Queen rice paper, and Pentart mixed media. Be sure to like and subscribe for more creative joy. Thank you. Let's get started. So this is Decoupage Queen's rice paper called Crowned Robin, and this is in a size A4. And I am sizing it up in the IOD arched wood panel, and I have pressed in creases with my fingers to make sure that I fit it into the arched frame properly, and I'm wet tearing around the edges. You could probably cut this with scissors just fine to fit your frame. I personally prefer wet tearing my rice paper, and now I'm going to fit it into my wood panel and make sure that I cut it right and it fits okay. And now I'm going to use Pentart Decoupage Varnish and Glue in matte finish. And I will start from the top underneath the paper and work my way down, applying a thorough coat of decoupage varnish underneath the paper to adhere it well. You don't want any bubbles or air pockets because your paper will lift or possibly wrinkle. So just a good, even, smooth coat. And now I'm applying a coat of decoupage varnish and glue in matte on top of the paper. This gives it a little bit of a seal and protects it and helps hold the paper down more for your project. And it's easier to clean up too when you have a good coat on there. So now I'm going to stain my wood panel with the Pentart laser gel in the color Chestnut. And this is like a stain. It's a super smooth, creamy, easy to apply gel type stain, and it doesn't have barely any odor at all. It's super pleasant to work with, and this is such a beautiful color. I'm in love with the Pentart laser gel. I can't wait to use other colors. And the IOD wood gallery blank here comes with a sawtooth hanger that you just hammer into your wood in the back. And so after I apply the laser gel, I just wipe it back a little bit, and then I dry it between coats, and you can use a heat gun or a blow dryer, and I wipe it back, and then I add my second coat, and the color gets richer and more beautiful, and it can help hide any imperfections in your wood. Like sometimes wood has weird little knobs and stuff. So now I am applying on the inner trim of the arched panel the laser gel in the color Walnut. And I thought this was a really pretty accent for this project. So this will also get a couple of coats too. And now I am going to go ahead and make my molds while that panel dries. This is Viridis mold, and this is IOD Oak Leaves and Acorns mold. And I have dusted them with cornstarch, and I'm using IOD Air Dry Clay to make my leaves from the Viridis and Oak Leaves and Acorns. I like to use a rolling pin to press my clay in a little bit. It helps ease up the work that my hands and fingers have to do. And now I just pull back the mold, and it helps the the castings release really easily. So I'm going to be making a lot of leaves for this project. I really covered the entire arch and down part of the sides of the wood panel for this project. So it required a good deal of castings, and I layered them. And so while I'm working and making the castings from clay, I cover the ones that I have made with a damp cloth. Here I have damp paper towels because I couldn't find my cloth, but I'll eventually get a cloth on there. So just keep them covered while you're working so they don't dry out and start cracking. And you want them to be pliable so you can wrap them around your frame as you arrange them and apply them and glue them on. So there I have some more from Viridis, and we'll start making Oak Leaves and Acorns castings as well when we're done with the Viridis. The Viridis mold makes these really beautiful, drapey, lovely leaves on branches, and I use them a lot as a base underneath the oak leaves, but also I'll be using them on top too. But I just love Viridis, it's so pretty. And now we're going to make our castings with oak leaves and acorns. This is a beautifully made mold. It makes the prettiest oak leaves and realistic acorns. I really enjoy using this mold for my projects for fall and autumn. It has some nice size leaves and some small ones. It has a couple of different sizes of acorns. And now I have my cloth to cover my castings. So now I'm sanding the inside edge of my frame from where I tore the paper and decoupaged it in because it was a little rough, so I want to smooth it down. And now I'm adding a second coat of Pentart decoupage varnish and glue. I want all of this done before I start adding my clay castings. And I'm going to have the decoupage varnish dry as well before I start working and adding the castings. You're going to be working with Pentart Express glue, and you don't want clay and glue getting stuck on your decoupage paper. So if you have a good coat, a couple of coats of decoupage varnish, it'll be easier to clean up if anything gets stuck on there. So I have arranged some of my clay castings just to get an idea of how I want them to look for the project. And I'm going to be using Pentart Express glue, which has a wonderful bond and quickly adheres your molds, your castings. So I'm removing them now, and I'm going to start adding my express glue to the backs of each clay casting. And I realized when I started doing the molds that I wanted to paint the very inside edge of the frame in my yellow, vintage yellow paint mix. I forgot all about it, and I needed to get it done before I started gluing and draping down molds over that edge. So that's why I kind of flip-flopped over to the paint. So sorry if it's confusing, but I mix a little bit of vintage yellow acrylic paint and a little bit of yellow acrylic paint, both in matte finish by Pentart. And I just use a couple of little dabs of paint. You don't need much. And we're just doing that very inside edge of the arched panel. And I feel like this mix of yellow gives a really pretty accent and pop of color to the decoupage paper design. There are some golden yellow leaves in this design, as you can see, and the paint really lends a pop to this. I love it. And later on in the project, we'll be adding Pentart yellow metallic wax, gold metallic wax, and copper. We'll have all those little fall color type waxes over the yellow paint that we applied. And that's coming in a little bit. And it's just a really pretty touch inside the frame. So I'm wiping back some of the paint I got on the walnut painted part of the frame, and later on I'll go back and touch it up with more walnut laser gel. So the inside edge is painted in the yellow mix, and now I'm going to do the clay castings. That's dry and ready for us to apply our clay castings. So I'm going to get my express glue here by Pentart and apply it to one of the larger pieces of the Viridis mold that I cast, and I make sure I cover the back in a good amount of glue, and then I take a brush and I brush the glue from edge to edge. When you have a thorough application of glue on the back of your castings, your molds will adhere better and they won't be prone to lifting and cracking because they were adhered down really well. So that's why I do that. And I'm adjusting some oak leaves and acorns leaf on there, see how I want it. And I'm going to glue it on now. And I'll add other large complementary leaves like that one on the left side of the arch, sort of having them kind of complement each other and have sort of opposite facing leaves to make sort of a crown at the top of the arch, if you will. I try to place them so they're not too matchy-matchy or too contrived, but at the same time, I want them to make sense in the design. And, you know, you just have to take, you know, the bits and leaves and figure out how you like them, how you want them to lay. And I wanted mine to drape over the inside edge, the back edge, and the sides a little bit. And I go around and I check with my fingers to make sure none of the castings are like sticking up or not adhered. And I gently push them down, and I try to be as gentle as I can so that I don't smush or lose the detail from the casting on the clay. And then I take like the tip of my brush and I sort of work things in if they need a little help that my fingers can't fit in there. So there's just a lot of tweaking and pressing in carefully when you're applying these molds like this, or castings, if you will. It's so easy to say molds, I guess. And so now I'm deciding, you know, where to place another oak leaf. And I mention here about thorough glue application. I can't stress that enough. If you adhere them really well, you won't have problems with them. And also keeping them covered while you work, keeping your clay covered after you cast it, makes it, they don't dry and crack so much. And here I drape the mold, the castings over the back. And I'm filling in with some small leaves. You know, you'll see like open cracks or blank areas, and I just find little parts and leaves or acorns that I think would look good there, and I fit them in. And I mention here how I love Viridis. It's a very elegant style of leaves, I think. They're really pretty. And there goes an acorn that I'm applying, making sure I have some glue on there. So what I did is I added, you know, I try to balance the type of leaves and sizes of things all around the project. I sort of disperse it and, you know, give it balance, but like I said, I don't want it to be too matchy-matchy. And I did the same thing with the acorns and these large leaves at the top of the arch. I'm placing an acorn over here. So you want to think about, you know, when you're placing acorns, I think I might have about a dozen on this project. So you want to sort of disperse them kind of evenly around from side to arch to other side, but don't make them so matchy-matchy in their placement. And so here I cover the castings I have already applied because I need to make more clay castings from the molds. So while that sits covered with the damp cloth, and I have a mister bottle that I spray the cloth with to keep it damp as I work. So here is our other large leaf for our sort of centerpiece kind of deal up there in the center of the arch. And I have more little leaves to drape up there. And later I did fill in some of these blank spots. I think I probably did that off camera. You know, in the interest of saving time. So as you can see on the left side of the art going down toward the bottom garland of leaves I applied, that one on the left is, it drapes out a little longer than the right side does. And that is because I didn't want it to look, like I said, so perfectly matchy. I want it to be a little more like it would be in nature or something, you know, not perfectly even, that kind of thing. And then I'm filling in these little spots up there at the top of the arch with little Viridis leaves, which are perfect for that. And now I'm adding more acorns. And this is the final acorn. So now it's time to base coat the clay castings. And I'm going to base coat them in laser gel walnut. And I thought that would be a good color since it goes with the inside edge that we painted in walnut with the laser gel walnut. And once I have this little area painted, I dry it, and then I add the tiny touches of the yellow paint mix that I used on the inside of the frame also. So I did this little test area down on the bottom right of the garland of leaves just to show you the steps and how I do the finishes. So we're drying the yellow mix paint, and now we're going to apply little touches of Pentart wax paste metallic in the color yellow. And I have I have several brushes laid out next to me, and each brush is for a different color of wax, so I don't get them confused and apply the wrong color in my steps. So now I'm going to apply the wax paste metallic in the color gold onto the castings. And here's a close-up for you. Show you how that's looking. All of these wax paste colors make really pretty fall colored leaves for the castings. And I'm just putting tiny touches of wax paste on the brushes when I go. It doesn't take a lot. It goes a long way. It's a good creamy wax paste. So now we're applying the copper wax paste metallic by Pentart to the leaves, and I just sort of brush lightly around the random areas of leaves, like the veins of the leaves and the edges and areas like that. And now I'm just blending in and touching up with some antique paste umbra to age the finish on the leaves. And then I use a soft dry brush to blend everything on the leaves. And I go back in with a touch of yellow metallic wax paste to brighten it back up a little bit. And I compare it to the finish I had tested on a leaf earlier before I started this project, and it worked out great. So we'll be applying this finish with these steps to the entire project of clay castings on the art panel. You can get a good look there. I have gone and done the finish on more of the castings off camera, to save some time. And now we are going to go ahead and use a larger brush. This is a good Worcester brand brush. It has staggered different length kind of bristles. It's good for doing vintage type texture finishes. And I like it because the bristles get all in the little crevices in between the clay castings on here. I get better, quicker coverage with this brush. And it's kind of soft. I like this brush. And I'll switch to a small brush to get in those little white spots that are sticking out that my big brush doesn't really get into. And now I'm applying that yellow paint mix color. It's vintage yellow and yellow by Pentart in matte acrylic. And I just dot all around just little small bits of the yellow mix. You don't need much at all. And then I use a larger soft mop artist brush to blend and soften the yellow paint mix. And then after I blend it, I kind of dab and wipe it back. And I let it dry so I can apply the more of the metallic waxes. And I just want to mention, you know, the Pentart wax paste metallics are a solvent-based wax paste. You need to use these in a well-ventilated area. And when you're working with them, you know, make sure you have some good air circulating in your area. I'm in a really large room with high ceilings, and I have a fan on. Well, I don't have my fan on now, but you know, I have really good ventilation where I'm working. So, but it's really important to, you know, be careful with these mediums. Read all the instructions and safety recommendations when you use them. So the yellow wax paste metallic is done, and now I'm going to apply the gold wax paste metallic to all the castings. And as you can see, I just dot it all around, and look how it brightens up. I mean, the yellow and the gold just really give the castings some pretty light. And here's a close-up. You can see kind of the back area there. You just lightly, gently touch and tap in and brush the wax paste on. So we've done the copper wax paste too, and I love the color that it gave. And I'm touching in yellow wax paste again because I really like the yellowy gold color. It's like the fall leaves in the decoupage paper. And now we're going to antique it with the antique paste in Umbra, or Umber, as some call it. And it's like a really dark earthy brown for aging and antiquing projects. I love it for aging along edges and in crevices and corners and along the top of the castings and like in between them. It gives them depth and makes them look rich and old worldy. So after I applied all the antique paste Umbra, I take another soft brush and blend it all through and soften it. And I go in and I reapply, and you know, those little white spots down inside the castings, I go in with a little artist brush and I touch them up with dark antique paste. And you can use paint or laser gel too, like in brown, to hide all that. And here's how it's coming along. This is antique paste in white by Pentart, and I always like to use this as part of the aging process. It's kind of soft, and you know how sometimes you see these really old decor pieces and they have like this whitish film on them from being old and fading, and that's why I like antique paste white for my projects. And now I'm going to go back in with a little bit of yellow and gold wax paste metallics. Just a quick, easy touch up, and I wipe it back with a cloth. A little bit of gold there. And I'm all done with the wax paste metallics. For now, probably. And so now we're going to clean up the panel with Pentart solvent cleaner. Please use this in a well-ventilated area. And so I dip the tip of an implement, like a little metal, I don't even know what it's called. It's this long metal thing. It used to have a blade on the end of it, and it broke, and it has like a flat edge now, and I use it to scrape stuff off my projects. So I covered the tip of that with my cloth and dipped it just a little bit into the cleaner. And I use the solvent to clean off glue or paint that is stuck on anywhere on my project. And so now I'm brushing the frame clean of the debris from like the bits of dry clay and whatever could be on there. Cleaning it off. And I now need to finish applying the wax paste metallic and yellow to the very inside edge of frame over that layer of yellow paint mix we did in there earlier in the project. This will be really pretty, you know, with the yellow over the vintage paint mix. It really complements the rice paper that's in this project. And so now I'm aging the inside edge with the antique paste umbra. And I'm blending all the waxes and paste with a soft brush. And there's a look at the inside edge. It's kind of goldy, glowy, you know, like when the sun sets on a fall day. It's a really pretty color mix. And so I'm touching up the laser gel walnut trim because when I had to clean stuff off with the solvent, you know, I lost a little bit of it. So I just went back over it and it looks really good now. Much, much nicer. And next we're going to apply a coat of the component 1 of 2 components of Pentart Classic Crackle Varnish. It's we're going to apply this on the paper. So just pick, you know, areas where you would like to have crackles. You can cover your whole paper or you can just pick random areas. I like to choose areas around the perimeter of a project, and like there's some old ephemera elements and old paper on the background of this rice paper, and I like it to go along the perimeter and in the edges, and then like along like that old paper along the bird's breast, those gold leaves down there, and that's where I want my crackles to be. And I use sort of mixed up type of brush strokes. I don't just keep going in one direction. This takes about 20 to 30 minutes to dry, and then I'm going to apply component 2 of 2 components, and you look for the shiny areas. It dries really clear and really shiny, so you just know to put your component 2 on those very shiny areas. And I also use varied brush strokes like cross-hatching side to side when I apply any of my crackle media. And then this takes about 20 to 30 minutes to dry too. And you can use a heat gun or blow dryer to help speed it up, but I normally just wait. So the crackles dry, and before I add the metallic paste into the crackles, I want to add Prima Artisan Powder in the color French Amber. And I'm using Pentart Wax Paste Transparent to put onto the castings of clay because the powder needs something to grab onto and hold on to the project. So the transparent wax paste does a great job of that. And I just apply tiny touches of powder randomly all around the molds of the French Amber. I'm using a really soft fan brush. It does a great job applying the powder. And then I brush and tap off all the loose excess artisan powder. And then I just sort of wipe gently with a cloth. And here I'm applying I'm applying Antique Paste by Pentart in the color Antique Gold to my crackles. Sometimes I don't like to use dark umber color. I really like to use Antique Gold or gold colors like that in my crackles because they glow. They give your project just this beautiful warm glow. So we're finished applying the Antique Paste Umbra and highlighting the crackles and the edges with it, and that concludes our project. We're all done. And here's a good look at everything, and I hope you enjoyed this project. I hope I inspired you to make beautiful things, and I just want to take the time to let you know how much I appreciate you, and thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can share in all the future creative joy with me. And you can find all the products I used in this project at myvictorianheart.com. Thank you so much.